It is the 24th day of March 2023. Welcome to Primetime News here on KUTV. We have a couple of stories lined up for you, as well as an interview on Tuberculosis Awareness Day. But first, let's take a look at our top stories tonight. Our sign language interpreter this evening is ODHIAMBO. My name is Joseph KESS. Now, Azimio One Kenya Coalition has written to the Nairobi officer commanding station on the incoming Monday and Thursday mass protest. Azimio Executive Council Chairperson Wycliffe Oparanya in the letter indicated that the planned mass demonstrations will begin at dawn and last till dusk.
After a refusal of Azimio notification letter by Nairobi Police Boss Adamson Bungei terming it as null and void, the Azimio leaders are showing unrelentlessness in their quest for justice when they wrote to Nairobi officer commanding station today. In the letter, the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Executive Council Chairperson Wycliffe Oparanya indicated the intent of opposition to hold demonstrations from dawn to dusk on Monday and Thursday beginning next week. Oparanya also urged the police OCS to deploy adequate police officers to provide enough security to protesters, saying that the letter is not an application for permission to hold demonstrations, as the right to demonstrate and picket is protected under Article 37 of the Constitution. The opposition mass protest that took place on Monday 20th of this month was marred with engagement between the police and the demonstrators, a situation that left one person dead, 10 police officers nursing injuries, and a number of people in police custody. Azimio leader Raila Odinga had earlier announced the new demonstration directives, with the new day saying that the opposition will not relent in their quest for, among other reasons, electoral justice and reduction of high cost of living. Kumu Modaki for KUTV, Nairobi.
Now, leaders from Abagusi community have distanced themselves from the ongoing demonstrations convened by the opposition, led by Kisii Governor Simba Arati and his Nyamira counterpart Amos Nyarebo. The elected leaders said they will not be part of the demonstrations. The leaders were speaking during a Thanksgiving ceremony for Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu at his home in Masaba in Kisii County.
President William Ruto and his deputy Rigathi Gachagua joined the Gusii leaders in a Thanksgiving ceremony for Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu at his home in Nyabiriri Village, Masaba, Kisii County. While addressing the Azimio demonstrations, the president fired back at the coalition leaders, asking them to face him instead of inciting the public into destructive protests.
Na mimi nataka niwaulize nyinyi, mwenye kushindana na mtu ya kitendawili si ni mimi? Sasa ameenda badala ya kuniface mimi. Nataka nimwambie bwana kitendawili, wacha kusumbua raia. Wewe kama uko na shida, wewe menyana na mimi. Mimi ndio nilikushinda.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua on his part said that President Ruto has nothing to negotiate with the opposition leader Raila Odinga, urging church leaders to ask Odinga to call off his destructive demonstrations.
Maandamano imekuwa Kisumu na Kibra na Babadogo. Na hiyo ni kutumia jamii vibaya. Umesukuma hawa watu ya Wajaluo miaka mingi kuwapoteza, wakuwe ni watu ya kuharibu mali na kutupa mawe. Ungeongoza jamii yako kwa mambo ya biashara, kwa mambo ya kujenga manyumba, kwa mambo ya kununua matatu.
Kisii Senator Richard Onyoka, on the other hand, urged the president to bring all leaders together, saying the president has proved that he will work together with all leaders.
I want to beg you, and I want to also beg my leader, Honorable Gachagua, please try your level best to bring the country together. Try your level best. But I'm not asking you to go and negotiate for Nusumkate. That one, forget.
National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, who was also present, said the ongoing demonstrations were part of efforts by the opposition to sabotage the economy.
Hata chakula, bei ya chakula ishuke chini leo hii rais. Mwananchi bila kupata nafasi ya kazi hata kuwa na uwezo na mapato ya kununua ile chakula. And you cannot have an opportunity ya kupata mapato ya kununua chakula if we are also disrupting our economy na mambo ya maandamano.
President Ruto is expected to visit various parts of southern Nyanza tomorrow Saturday to mark the end of his 3-day tour in the region, with him launching various development projects before jetting back to the country's capital, Nairobi. Mutunga Joseph, KUTV.
Now, Migori Governor Dr. Ochilo Ayako has distanced himself from the presidential visit to the county, citing that there has been no official communication from the office of the president and the organizers. Ayako was speaking at the county's state house, says that the news about President William Ruto's visit is all rumors from hearsay.
The scheduled President William Ruto's visit to Migori County has not been well received by the county boss Dr. Ochilo Ayako, who now claims that no official visit letter has been dropped at his office.
It is not possible for me to attend those functions because protocol would require that I understand the seating arrangements. If there is an agenda that I should articulate on behalf of the great people of Migori, I should know that it's included in the program so that I may articulate it on behalf of the people of Migori.
Concurrently, the governor noted that he is not aware of where exactly the president will visit in the county, hence he is left with no option but to give it a wide berth. Governor Ayako also cited that should he attend the event as an uninvited guest, he risks shaming the county by bringing unnecessary discord among the invited attendees.
There is no inclusivity in his visit because it does not include a county government. A county government is absolutely responsible for health, responsible for water, responsible for agriculture. How would he deliver those services without involving the county government?
Although the governor questioned the president's visit to launch projects in his region without including him, he stated that he knows best what the county needs and his inclusion will benefit the common man.
And I hope that visit will lower the cost of living. That visit will bring up our people from being captives of poverty and will help our people. I also hope that that visit will create harmony.
However, the county governor has also stated that he welcomes the president to the county, regardless of where he will visit, noting that the president is free to visit anywhere in this country, and he hopes the visit will lower the cost of living and it will uplift the Migori people. Mutunga Joseph, KUTV.
Now, a key witness has sensationally implicated one of the main suspects in the Junior Sagine's eyes gouging incident when KESS Senior Resident Magistrate Christine Ogweno conducted a special court sitting at the scene of crime. During the court proceedings at Ikuruma village in Marani Sub-County, curious members of the public were kept at bay by a contingent of police officers. The witness, who was under the Witness Protection Act, alleged she saw the suspect commit the crime using a knife before wrapping the minor in a gunny bag and dumping him in a maize farm. She pinpointed the spot where the crime was allegedly carried out and said it prompted threats to her life and subsequent banishment from the home. Another main suspect, who was grandmother to the minor, also identified the alleged crime scene. Her grandson was found after the assault. The suspects are facing a charge of causing bodily harm to Junior Sagini in between December 13 and 14, 2022 at Ikuruma Village, Marani Sub-County, in which they pleaded not guilty.
Nagisu, eh?
After I had witnessed what had happened,
Nagisu,
started chasing me in the life and I went down.
Now, Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Culture and Heritage, Penina Malonza, now says the tourism sector has suffered a major blow since Azimio la Umoja commenced demonstrations in the country. CS Malonza was speaking during the launch of Management, Spatial and Greater Masai Mara Ecosystem Plan at Masai Mara National Reserve. Take a look.
While speaking at the Masai Mara National Game Reserve during the launch of the Greater Masai Mara Ecosystem Management Plan, Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Culture and Heritage Penina Malonza regretted on the dangers that Azimio mass protests have exposed the tourism sector to. CS Malonza expressed her fears on the future of tourism in the country, terming the opposition mass action as a big threat to the sector, saying that a number of foreigners have cancelled their hotel bookings due to the ongoing demonstrations in the country. Narok County Governor Olen Tutu, who is also the chairperson of Tourism and Wildlife Committee at the Council of Governors, urged the opposition leader Raila Odinga to stop the demonstrations, mentioning that the protest will economically affect the people of Narok, who depend largely on tourism. The leader's sentiments were echoed by Yala MP David Sankok, Narok East MP Ken Kiloko, and Narok Deputy Governor Tamalinye Koech, who called on Odinga to call off the demonstrations for the sake of the economy. CS Malonza was in the company of her counterpart CS Soipan Tuya of Environment, and her three permanent secretaries Umi Bashir, John Olotua, and Sylvia Kihoro. Okumu Modaki for KUTV.
Now, the Salary and Remuneration Commission is proposing a revision to the current system of determining daily travel allowances, which is based on the job group and the town being visited. In the new proposal, SRC is seeking to increase travel allowances of state officers, as Auma Evans reports.
Salary and Remuneration Commission is seeking to revise travel allowances for state officers attending official duties outside cities of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, and Nakuru. In the new proposals, the daily local travel allowances will go up between 1,200 and 8,000 for government officials whose assignments are outside cities, county headquarters, Malindi, and Naivasha, raising the minimum per diem for local travel between 40% and 66.7% depending on the job group. Under the proposed changes, the civil servants in Group UV and state officers in grade F1, F2 and E5 will have their travel allowances harmonized to 18,000 shillings, while those in Group ST, E3 and E4 will receive 16,800. Those in Group A that include drivers, personal secretaries, cleaners and messengers will receive 3,700 a month, up from 3,000. Should the proposals see the light of the day, Nairobi-based civil servants in Group K will now receive 16,500 house allowance per month, up from 10,000. However, the proposal seeks to maintain the current travel allowances for international trips while revising the rates for domestic travel outside of Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nakuru. Auma Evans for KUTV, Nairobi.
Now, the Kenya Institute of Special Needs today held its 28th graduation ceremony, where it saw 705 students graduate in different fields. The ceremony was attended by different education dignitaries who expressed their pride in grand aunts, citing that theirs is more of a vocation than a profession.
In a ceremony graced by different education stakeholders, including the Teacher Service Commission TSC, Kenya National Union of Teachers NAT, and the Director General State Department of Basic Education Elias Abdi, among others, 700 students today started a new journey in various special needs fields. While showing their happy faces, the graduates said that their role in the society is of great importance as their profession involves caring and training children with special needs. Mohammed Koba, who graduated with a certificate in learner support services, explained that his profession comes with the role of advocating for the welfare of the disabled children, which he says he will do diligently.
Siku ya leo kwa hakika nimebeba jukumu kubwa la kuangalia watoto wanaoishi na uwezo maalum katika jamii yangu. Mimi nitakuwa kama ambassador kwao na nitahakikisha haki zao zinalindwa kama watoto wanaoishi na ulemavu.
Additionally, Mohammed said that any special need profession requires determination and patience, keeping in mind the sensitive condition of the children.
Kwanza kabisa uwe na moyo na utie ari na kujua ya kwamba hawa watoto ni lazima tuwashughulikie kama jamii.
The Director General State Department of Basic Education, Elias Abdi, noted that the government is collecting data on the children living with disability for proper planning and proper allocation of funds.
So the purpose of collecting data is for planning, for also ensuring that we are able to provide the requisite funding in terms of planning and policy development. So at the moment, we have quite a number of children in our institutions that are of special needs.
In relation to the CBC curriculum, Mr. Elias noted that the Ministry of Education ensures that special needs schools are involved when revising the curriculum.
The position of government, the Ministry of Education, is that these children are not an afterthought. Anything we provide for the regular students, we also provide them concurrently. So as we have reviewed our competence-based, we are moving now to a competence-based curriculum, we have equally reviewed the curriculum for the children with special needs.
As graduates take the next step of their careers, they are expected to take their roles in the society of caring for children with special needs.
All right, welcome back. The workers of the South Korean Bomei construction company, which is responsible for the construction of the KESS University in Kansas City, have dumped their tolls over claims of harassment by the management, which according to them has refused to heed to their complaints. Here is Yvonne Kimoma with that report.
More than 300 workers of the Bomei Construction Company that is responsible for construction of the KESS University in Kansas City have protested what they term as harassment by their employer. Among their grievances is the company's refusal to heed to their demands coupled with poor pay. According to the workers, the South Korean-based Bomei company has failed to comply with their collective bargain agreement, which states NHIF, NSSF, and KRA payments should be implemented, but this has not been the case for 18 months now.
CBA imesaliwa katika ndani yetu. Tulifanya negotiation, Mkorea akasign CBA mnamo mwezi wa 7 akapokea CBA katika ofisi lake. Kufika siku chache baada ya kupokea CBA, akaenda kotini kwenda kustaki CBA na wakora wengine katela ambao wako kwa ofisi.
The workers lament that their interests have been neglected as they accuse the KOTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli for remaining silent as their suffering continues. They added that when one of them falls ill, they have to take care of the medical expenses from their pay due to lack of medical insurance. Female workers have also complained of sexual harassment.
Tulipoanza hii vita ni wenzetu tulichagua representatives, wakaenda kwa ofisi, wakaenda kupigwa, wakaenda kulala kwa hospitali wiki 2. Sasa ile wiki 2 walienda, ndio PS alikimbia kuja hapa kutodanganya. Tukatoka hapo tukaenda Kotida, of which those people who are involved in that meeting, we had the county commissioner, tulikuwa na DCI, tulikuwa na hizi administrations zingine zote, tulikuwa pia na Kotida. Ile kitu tuliongea pale, hakuna kitu ilikuja kutimizwa.
Mr. President, where are you? Which kind of investors are these working in our country? If the Korean government cannot cooperate with the law of Kenya, return them back to where they came, we pay our tax, we build our country. Yes.
Last year, the former Principal Secretary for Higher Education, Simon Nabukwesi, visited the area to assess the situation following a row between the Kenyan and Korean workers that ended up with 2 Kenyans hospitalized. The workers say that very little has changed since Nabukwesi's visit, as they call on the president to intervene. Yvonne Kemuma, KU TV.
Now, the World Tuberculosis Day, which is marked on 24th March annually, is a day that is aimed at creating awareness about tuberculosis and measures taken to control the disease. In respect to the day, different counties across the country held events to mark the day, with some of them providing free screening for the disease.
Different counties across the country joined the world in marking the World Tuberculosis Day, which is aimed at creating awareness about the disease, its causes as well as its prevention. In Machakos County, Dr. Francisca Kivuva of the Machakos Level 5 Hospital led a free tuberculosis screening initiative which saw over 500 prisoners get tested for the disease. Dr. Kivuva noted that the prison was chosen due to its congestion nature, explaining that tuberculosis spreads faster in such conditions. According to Dr. Kivuva, if the disease is identified earlier, chances of it being controlled are higher.
We chose TK Prison because it's a concrete setting and it's a high-risk setting where, just because of its nature, a lot of transmission of the disease may occur. Knowing TB, it's a airborne disease.
In Meru County, campaigns to mark the day were also organized, where free screening was also provided. Different leaders advocated for good health behaviors, urging the residents of Meru to avoid behaviors such as smoking so as to ensure good health.
Watu wa Meru, tuache kuvuta sigara. Pia unywaji wa pombe haramu umekuwa mwingi, na pia kukaa mahali ambako tuko congested. Tujue afya yetu ni jukumu letu.
Elsewhere in Mombasa County, an organization named Teens Watch Center that provides health services for drug addicts and sex workers battling with the disease, through its program coordinator, say TB is common among the two groups due to the condition they are exposed to.
It's an organization that targets key population, who are people who inject drugs, female sex workers, and at times MSM, who are part of the PWID community. Those are people who inject drugs.
As the world marked the World Tuberculosis Day, the disease still remains a huge concern and among the leading cause of death due to its airborne nature. Ruth Wanjiru for KU TV.
And that story takes us on our first break of the night. Coming back, we'll be having an interview on TB awareness with Dr. Anthony Nato. Let's take a break. We'll be back shortly.
What's up, fashionistas? Looking for a show that brings you the latest in the world of fashion, glamour, creativity, and style? Fashion Diaries got you sorted as we explore street fashion, modeling, runways, red carpet events, and so much more.
Catch me, Ashley Asachi, as we unlock the greatest fashion events. Keep it locked.
I'm the founder of Arduino Kenya. Arduino Kenya, the name comes from the board which I usually use, Arduino Uno. In Oasis Madare, I've been training students on how to come up with projects using Arduino and Raspberry Pi. This is an app I've made myself. So you can change even the scrolling speed, you can reduce the speed. In this field of Arduino, I've been also able to make games instead of using manual switches, I'm using the touch sensor. You just need to touch the sensor, then the lights will be either on or off.
Focus on Health is a show that creates awareness on matters health and informs you on various diseases, their causes, treatment, prevention, coping, and support. So join me, Barry Michelle, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. only on KUTV. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at KUTV Focus on Health on Facebook and also on YouTube, and Health Focus on Instagram, because your health is your wealth. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
People pass vuguvugu. People pass ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
All right, welcome back. Now, according to a research conducted by World Health Organization in 2021, it was estimated that tuberculosis, otherwise known as TB, was the second leading infectious cause of death after COVID-19, with approximately 1.5 million deaths globally. Kenya is a high tuberculosis-burdened country, and the National TB Prevalence Survey of 2016 indicated that the actual burden of TB in Kenya was 426 cases per 100,000 people, with an estimated annual incidence of 169,000 persons. Today in studio, we have Dr. Nato Anthony Care, who is a clinical officer in Chest Clinic. He will be helping us to dig deeper into the nitty-gritties of TB. Doctor, welcome to the studio this evening.
Thank you.
Now, people ordinarily know TB as a disease transmitted through air, and it affects the lungs. Maybe how best can you describe this illness?
Okay. The definition for a normal person who is not a medical practitioner, it is normal, but usually we say it is a transmission of the disease or the bacteria that causes TB. That is the bacteria that causes TB that usually affects the lungs, and usually it is transmitted from one person to another through the air. So that is the best way you can put it. Yes.
Okay, maybe what are the distinct signs and symptoms that can be used to detect TB, especially in its early stages?
Okay, in early stages, usually it varies from adulthood to childhood. Usually in adulthood, we are talking of a cough of any duration. Then we have sweating, we say drenching sweating. That means where you're sleeping, at least your clothes or the beddings have the sweat or they are somehow wet. Then also have weight loss. Then you can have fever. And then if in children, usually they are dull, there is loss of playfulness, then obvious weight loss, fever, and cough.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And maybe can tuberculosis be permanently cured, and maybe does it have any permanent damages to the body even after recovery?
Yes, tuberculosis, ideally, it is a bacterial infection. So meaning when you're given the corrective antibiotics, and it is also detected on time, the cure rate is 100%. But now if you delay in the diagnosis, and that's why we encourage our patients, when you have any of the above symptoms, you come to hospital as early as possible, so that you're not coming in when your lungs are already damaged and they have complication. So if it is detected early, cure rate is 100%.
Maybe what is the probability of TB recurring, and what should a person do to avoid getting infected even after recovery?
So that is what I was speaking to. If you have this disease is diagnosed a bit late, there are complications which the disease leaves in your lungs. One of the complications is cavitation. The bacteria eats up part of the lung to create a cavity. So when healing, sometimes this cavity may not also heal. You will heal, but you leave behind the cavity. So this acts as a nice media for the bacteria to grow. Then also there is what we call fibrosis, healing with scar. So when a patient heals with a scar, yes, the disease will be cleared, but the complications will be there. So we'll be moving from one stage to another. The condition called COPD. So you're moving from just TB to more complications that can also even affect the heart. Yes.
Okay, maybe research shows that a positive TB test only means one has been infected with germs and not really one has progressed to TB. What is the difference between being infected with TB germs and having TB, the illness itself?
Okay, even maybe before I move there, there is something I had forgotten. To prevent this progression to a reoccurrence of TB, usually for now there is a new method where once you clear taking the medication, you take now the prevention, what we are calling TBT, TB preventive therapy. So if you're finishing your treatment and then you're taking the TB preventive therapy, you are sure of more than 90% that there is no recurrence. Now, when you come to TB infection or having a TB germ and then having the disease, usually when we want to clinically differentiate the two, when we talk of latent, we talk of TB infection and TB disease. TB infection is when you have the bacteria in your body and you're not having clinical presentations. Like you're not having fever, you're not coughing. But when we do some tests like IGRA, you will find out that your blood has those sensitized antibody for TB. But when we talk of TB disease, now this is when you have a bacteria in your body, but it is already now affecting your body. So there is those symptoms for tuberculosis. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Maybe you can tell us some of the types of tests for tuberculosis.
So usually, depending with the setup, we have the main gold standard for diagnosis of TB is gene expert. And the gene expert, the importance of it is that it is able to show us if the patient has rifampicin resistance. Remember, in our current world, there is a pandemic or a pandemic which is coming up of TB resistance. Initially, we never used to have the same, but because of maybe mismanagement of the patient or not taking drugs very well, we are having TB resistance. So usually when when we are doing the test, gene experts is the bottom line. We have sputum for microscopy. We're also having the images, like X-ray is very important because sometimes when you're coughing the sputum, you're not able to produce the sputum at the base of the lungs. So sometimes the X-ray is able to show us that also you have TB. We can also do the CT scan of the chest. It is also very important. But as I said, we also have a test that helps us now to check if you have an infection but you don't have a disease. Now that one is called IGRA test. And that one is what the US and European countries are using. That when you're traveling there, you're doing an IGRA test. You do the sputum is negative, but maybe you have a sleeping bacteria, which we say TB infection minus the disease. So there is also IGRA test, which is very important for prevention purposes. Yes.
Now, Dr. Nato, Kenya is among the countries recording high number of tuberculosis cases. Maybe what are we not doing as a country? How can we correct this situation?
Yeah, so far with the partners, I think the government is trying. Nevertheless, we are not doing the best. We are doing better, but you're not doing the best. And why I can say so, you see, number one is our patients don't have enough knowledge of tuberculosis. As I said, early diagnosis usually improves on the cure of the patient. And number two, early diagnosis also prevents transmission to another person. So where we are not doing well is, number one, the healthcare practitioners themselves, most of them don't know anything about tuberculosis. And if they know very little about tuberculosis. Number two, again, what we are lacking in our system is that most of the facilities, as many as they are in this city of Nairobi, most of them don't have a laboratory that can perform the basic tests for diagnosis of tuberculosis. So I think for the government to help us, number one, especially the mission hospital and government hospitals, we need to have the chest x-ray free for the patients. We need to have the gene expert machine and also even the microscopy machine to help us early diagnosis and early treatment. Also, sometime for the issue, as I said, complication of tuberculosis. Most of our patients, sometimes they develop fibrosis, pleural effusion. You may need to have a CT scan to rule out if it is TB complication or cancer. So in that case, this patient needs to go extra miles to spend a lot of money and then to be able to get the image. So if the government can come up with a facility that will provide the service for free, I think our patient will be well.
All right, Doctor, and maybe if I may ask, what is the cost of treating TB?
Okay, TB for now it is free, but it depends where you're getting the management. If you're getting the treatment in a government facility, for example, it is free for like nothing you're paying. But if you will need to do some x-ray and some workups, this patient will need to go back to the bucket. Also in Mission Hospital, TB diagnosis and treatment is free. But again, if there is anything added, as I said, to check if the lungs are severely destroyed and all that, this patient will need to cough money from the bucket. So it is cheap for treatment, but for diagnosis and other things, I can say it is a quarter way free. Yes.
Okay, and maybe have we invested enough in research on TB as a country? And what is the position of health practitioners, you being one of them, on this?
Okay, investing in research is one, but again, consuming the information from the research is another thing. So the two are very different. And at the end of the day, they need to move together. So in investing in research, I can say we are trying. We have the KEMRI, yes, Kenya Research Institute, which is doing well, especially on resistant patterns and all that. But now, where the problem now comes in is, now this patient is being done the KEMRI, the test is coming back to the doctor who doesn't know the knowledge about the same tuberculosis. Some can't interpret even the results. And then the same facility you find, it is only one doctor or clinician who is handling the same patients. So it means, again, we need to work on the human resource for us to say that Kenya can manage TB and at the same time encourage training so that as this doctor is meeting the patient, is giving the patient the information that is needed for diagnosis and treatment of tuberculosis.
All right, that is Dr. Natoke Anthony. Thank you so much for coming, for making time for us. And on that, we take a short break. Coming back is the sports news.
You need to look for high quality friends.
I'm from Kingston, Jamaica, you know Portmore. That's my village.
Kanga kitini hapo ukinyepia ukikatia mademo akipita.
Sina pesa saa hii, nimekuja kukopesa choo.
Kipindi hewani ni mitindo ya kipwani. Kama ilivyo kipindi hiki kinahusu nyimbo za tarab, chakacha, midwara, midundiko, bila kusahau mapishi. Ambao ndio uti wa mgongo wa pwani ya Afrika Mashariki.
Jamani swaibu zangu mliopo maskani, hatuonani wenzangu, najua mwanitamani.
Hapa KUTV, nahodha mwendesha chombo cha baharini, yani ua linalonukia na kuvutia waridi tamu.
Welcome to Children's Corner.
We have been doing a lot more research on different germplasm, together with colleagues in this university who have done very excellent work in GMO research.
Banana is a very important crop, not just in Kenya, but globally. It's a food crop, and it's also a source of income for the farmers.
Wataalamu wa chuo kikuu cha Kenyatta wamekutanisha vichwa vyao katika maabara ili kuangazia kwamba swala la vyakula vya kisaki ama GMO linakuwa ni salama na pia kuna upatikanaji wa chakula.
All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at what is happening in the world of sports. Now, the World Football Governing Body, FIFA, has lifted the transfer ban on Gor Mahia FC after the record Kenyan champions completed payments owed to former players. FIFA issued Gor Mahia with a 2-window ban in 2021 for failing to pay Ghanaian Jackson Owusu and later goalkeeper Adama Keita after Owusu sued Gor. The 19th league winners were instructed by FIFA's dispute resolution chamber to pay him within 45 days, which they failed to comply. The matter has now been resolved, with FIFA informing Gor that all files at its headquarters in Zurich, Switzerland, have been closed. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo celebrated his world record 197th men's international appearance by scoring twice as Portugal thrashed Liechtenstein in their Euro 2024 qualifying opener. The 38-year-old has now scored a men's record 120 international goals. Ronaldo